welcome to Nurture of Life, but the name soon will be mothernurture.baby, and the podcast will be just called Mother Nurture. Welcome. My name is Alma. Today we'll have Carolina Allen, and here at this podcast and our platform offers women knowledge and wisdom from ancient times, from the beginning of times, how to reconnect to their divine nature, to learn how to transition smoothly from maidenhood to matrescence to motherhood, and learn from other moms that are done having their babies and they can share their last experience first time around just for you. So Alan has 6 kids? Seven kids. So a lot of knowledge and wisdom there. And she's the creator of Big Ocean Women, which is a wonderful organization that focuses on family, faith, and motherhood. And she will share a lot about how that came to be and what they do to help women around the world. And also we'll go a little bit on her personal experience as a mother and transitioning, and any tips and knowledge she has and desires to share with you. We'll go over that here on our podcast today.
Thank you for having me. This is a joy.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very excited too. Okay, so tell us about the maternal feminism. That's one of the hashtags on your podcast, on your website and podcast.
Yeah, that's what our movement is. It's maternal feminism because we feel like there's a need to represent women all over the world. So, like, a majority of the women of the world, 83%, are women who identify with the faith tradition. All of us come from mothers, like, unless there's some other way of creating human life, which I think technologies today, are moving in that direction. But
pretty scary.
Yeah. But all of us are tethered and connected to family. So, I mean, that's a majority of us around the world. And this traditional feminism just has really severed ties to these oppressive, institutions, the institution of marriage, of family, of birth. And so it's not a representative voice of majority of the women of the world. So we still need a feminist voice, a feminism that can elevate the status of mothers and of women around the world, but it also has to. The feminism has to meet us where we are. Yeah. That's where maternal feminism comes in. Is that we're not trying to smash the patriarchy. We're doing things in different ways. We can elevate the matriarchy. We can recalibrate these powers just by sharing recognition to the work that women do all over the world. And so anyway, that's our movement, and we call it maternal feminism. And our organization is the world's leading, maternal feminist voice. Yeah. So we're
actually it's the only website I know, and podcast with that hashtag and Instagram. So pretty wise, yeah. And I wanted to add a little bit of on the radical feminism too. Like I've been doing research behind the lives of those women, and it's so sad that they went through what they went through and what was done to them as children, as teenagers and adult women. And I love that you're saying, like, we want this representation of the 85% of other women that had other experiences and felt different and felt like they want to have kids, they want to stay home, or they want to find some way that works, that they can nurture their kids and they can maybe develop their own dreams and desires too, rather than just like this extremist and radical way of thinking of women being oppressed because they want to have babies or because their biology is the only one responsible to carry a baby in the womb, to birth a baby, and to nurse a baby, which is a lot of work and takes a lot out of women's life. But if we're open, they would know that, and then maybe they get into it knowing what they're getting themselves into. I had a friend that when she had her baby, she had it a little bit after me, and she said, no one told me that breastfeeding is a full-time job. So I would love for you to be as open as you feel comfortable in those matters as well. Yeah. Okay, so the organization has 10 or 12?
12 tenants.
Okay, can you go over them, a little rough idea what they are?
Every
month,
I
have them here too, so if we need a little help.
Thank you. Yeah, every month, all of us, our 12 tenants are 12 philosophical pillars that all of us all over the world, so we're an international organization, and we're all every month discussing one of these principles. And every, January, we're talking that we are women of faith. So like, we believe in God and are women of faith. And so we want to recognize this spiritual component to us.
Yes.
And we want to celebrate that. And we're interfaith. That means like whatever faith tradition you belong to that upholds life and, these other 12 tenets, that we really want to celebrate that.
Yeah.
And then we move on, month by month, and we're talking about these core philosophies, and it anchors us together. It gives us a common language, and it helps us speak in a unified voice all over the world. And it's really powerful because we get to advocate for the things that we believe in a unified way. And so we're preserving our language, our common language that way.
I love that. I wanna read some of them. So we believe in God and are women of faith. We are each unique and innate, worthy of respect. We work in partnership with our global sisters to create generative solutions. We live and promote a life culture within the womb, the home, and our ecological environment. I love that. We are empowered by our feminine nature and biology, which I would love to expand on that a lot more. And we honor our procreative power. We value the irreplaceable role of fathers and build in interdependent relationships with men. That's the only way to do it. We greatly value the contributing role of families. We seek after knowledge and wisdom. We recognize and follow our internal compass. To speak and act with integrity. We are free to choose and willingly accept responsibility for our choices. We believe in the model of powerful impact. We foster a positive culture of abundance. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you raised with such tenets or principles in your life? Where did this come for you? And why did you start what you have been doing for about a decade now, right?
Yeah, 10 years, yeah.
So how did this come to be for you, and how were you molded? Tell us a little bit about
Well,
about
I
that.
was raised in a family that really celebrated, me as a young girl. I always felt like being a girl was special in my household. I remember the day that my mom had to work full time outside the home, and so I came from an immigrant family.
Okay.
So I'm originally born in Brazil, and our family moved to the United States when I was around 6-7 years old.
Okay.
And my dad had different jobs. He was always trying to, it was just a hard life economically as an immerant family.
A lot of sacrifices.
And at one point, my mom said, we're just not cutting it, and I need to get a job. I need to do something to help. And she's like, there's two options that I can go to. I actually remember this story really well. I want to share it super quick.
Go for it.
So I remember coming home from school, from junior high, and Mom, where are you? And I went into her room, and she was kneeling in prayer. And so I've often found my mom kneeling in prayer. And she got up and just immediately was like, I need a job, and it's one of two things. And it was like, she heard from a friend that they were hiring to be flight attendants. Or she's like, I could go into the Army and we can get. So I'm like, do the flight attendant thing, Mom. So she's like, well, then if I choose that, then I've got like a half hour to get ready to go for this interview. She's like, I don't even have any professional clothes. What do I do?
Oh, wow.
And I said, Mom, the ladies these days are wearing like these wraparound skirts.
Okay.
So I found a scarf.
Oh.
And I helped her get ready.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, and we had a safety pin or a brooch that I put on, and she's like, okay, say a prayer for me.
How
I'm
old
gonna
were
go.
you at that time?
It's maybe 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
13, 14.
Teen.
And she went, and she just kept progressing, like, and my mom didn't know English very well, so she would literally like memorize all the answers.
Oh, wow.
And being a flight attendant, like, you're gone from your family. Like, she had a training in Chicago. So she was a flight attendant based in Chicago, and she would fly to Sao Paulo like every week. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
The kind of jet lag and just how exhausted she was. Anyway, so my mom did this for work, and I got to see firsthand like what a special woman she was, that she was making these sacrifices for the family. But my dad was a stay-at-home dad, so their roles were a little bit reversed. Like, he would do different jobs, but he was the one mostly at home.
So you had someone taking care of you,
I
and
did.
a consistent
And my
way.
grandfather.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
And he also, like, my aunt, was going through a divorce at the time, so all my cousins also were at home.
Oh,
So I had a grandpa and my dad.
Good.
and different, a grandma that came in from Brazil for a few years or whatever. But anyway, the reason why I'm telling you this is because, like, when I had my period as a young girl, it was my dad who was at home. So I remember telling him, and he was like, "That's amazing." He's like, "We need to celebrate."
Okay.
So he went and got, like, the little, like, non-alcoholic little champagne things, because he's like, "Your body's working, and this is a sign that one day you're going to become a mother. Like, your body is just doing exactly what it's supposed to." And then my mom came home, and I got to tell her. But it was like, I always felt like being a girl was special. And my dad, for as long as I can remember, he's always been like, "My firstborn. You're my firstborn. You're the leader of all of the other kids." And so I always felt like, anyway, I was just raised with this kind of internal, like, I was special.
And you had value. You're worthy.
Yes, yeah. And I just really appreciate my upbringing from both my parents. I got that from both my parents. But it wasn't until, like, and philosophy was always important in my household, like asking deep questions and, like, taking time to work through them. There was never, like, a need for rushed answers. Like, let's keep thinking on that, let's keep pondering this question. And I feel like that's helped me tremendously. Like, it's okay to not have answers right away, and it's okay to, like, take time with questions and let them unfold and kind of figure themselves out.
Learn in a very organic, natural way.
Yeah.
I want to pause on the sacrifice portion, but before I do that, I feel very strongly to share a message for girls that are or weren't as fortunate as you. Okay, and wherever you are, and whatever age you are right now, if you come across this podcast and you hear this message, I want you to know that before you were born and got this physical body here on this earth, and before you joined whatever family, maybe a family that wasn't as fortunate as Carolina's, and your childhood doesn't sound as loving, I want you to know that in pre-existence, you were loved and cared and lived in the presence of heavenly parents, and you have worth. And when you come to this earth, no matter the family, the culture, and the place you joined, whatever message you have been given, it is simply some beliefs and some beliefs that do not go hand in hand with your true worth, value, and original state, which is wonderful, intelligence, powerful, pure light, everything good. You are everything good, no matter what was told to you. And I hope and I invite you to seek help and support so you can shed all those lies and all those false beliefs, and you can get to this baseline and this original truth that she was told by her earthly parents as well. And not everyone has that fortunate luck, maybe, or opportunity, but if you overcome it, you will know both sides of the coins, and you will have a lot more power and a lot more knowledge to see both sides of reality, because that is a sad reality for some children that even today are enjoying this life through the birth of an earthly mother that is not perfect. And no one is perfect, but we're talking for extreme abuse and extreme neglect and extreme messages of unworthiness. Every person that is born is worthy and has dignity and has value and is special. So you're special.
Okay. I love that. Thank you for saying that.
I want you to pause a little bit on, you mentioned sacrifice. What have the benefits of sacrifice been in your life? Because one thing I see in the world we live now is that if it's hard, if it's not convenient, if it requires us to sacrifice, we don't consider it good at all. And then we see science shows that when that is not in place and we don't see sacrifice as good, then we basically create a petri dish of a lot of mental and emotional challenges because we are created for a challenging life, for things that challenge us and call us to higher levels of development and thriving. So
Well, I learned so much from my parents' sacrifice. All of us siblings, because we're six. I'm the oldest of six, and it's meant everything to us. So like the life of an immigrant family, you know, was very, very difficult. Like I could tell you a lot of hard things that we went through, but it was because we saw our parents sacrifice for us and put our needs kind of above their own and stretch themselves in such a way that it made us like. I remember, so my mom, like I said, would have to travel. She was gone 3-4 days of the week, and she'd come home extremely jet lagged. And I remember all of us as young kids coming home from school and being like, Mom's coming home. Let's all make her as comfortable as possible. Let's clean the house. You do dishes, you do this, you do this. So all of us had jobs because we knew that, and not out of like fear that my mom's going to come home, but out of love and appreciation for her.
Wow.
And so even to this day, I have brothers that are extremely successful. You know, I would say all of us as kids, like I have a brother that's a cardiothoracic surgeon and heading up like his own like mechanical heart program, and I mean doing really crazy things. And it's because we saw our parents sacrifice, where we were like, we can't throw this away. Like we have to do the very best that we can. And we do it out of love and respect for our parents because they sacrificed for us. And so I think that the culture today really pushes this other narrative where it's like you first, like it's all about you. But I've learned the power of what happens when you live for someone else and you do hard things to elevate them and to set them up for success. And that now as we've grown up as kids, we want nothing but to give back to our parents. Like my parents, you know, like I have siblings that are financially well off now, and they just want to give to my parents now. They're like, we can't think of enough things to do to honor our parents because of their sacrifice. And I think that it's a joy. It's a joy to give back when you're in a place where you can. After seeing somebody give so much to you with nothing in expect for return, right? It's just it's like a gift economy that happens, and you reciprocate. You just want to give back.
I love that.
And I feel like when you just live for the self constantly, you're going to miss out on that in the end.
Yeah.
And so it's worth realizing that there's this whole arc of life that happens, and a lot of times, like, the traditional feminist rhetoric is that you have to live for now, like as if your life isn't going to carry on, and that you have time for so many other things. And, you know, I don't know. I think that we need to keep that in perspective, the arc of life. Like when you sacrifice for somebody now and it's a labor of love and you're giving, it will come back to you. It's just this
It's also
cycle.
like an investment.
Right.
Yeah, you're putting points on the account of having people for you when you are in need, when you are in, I don't know, in the need of support, of community, or someone else to show up for you, because, you know, it's reciprocity, you know? And you said, like, we did clean the house and everything out of love, not fear. We want to appreciate her because look at how much she is sacrificing and prioritizing us. So that is such a great example. One thing that I see that I think the whole society has got, it's very, these things are extremely tricky, okay? Because if you, let's say you are born and raised by parents that have personality disorders or mental health or whatever, especially severe narcissistic parents, they will never think of you. You are basically a means to their end.
Right.
Right? So then when you are overcoming of these things, you do get the advice of like prioritize yourself, put boundaries, but because we are not perfect, sometimes we take things a little too far. And sometimes in college I had a friend that me and her decided to break up from these boyfriends that we didn't think were good for us, or we weren't good for them, wasn't a good match. And we went and bought all these cozy things to make our room like like a sanctuary, right? Well, we made it to that point that we didn't want to leave our rooms, and we start having this joke: is this self-help or self-harm?
Yeah.
Because we had crossed the line, right? And so I think with what you shared is a good call to people that pay attention to the balance, because it is you have to take care of yourself. Like it's you have to put the mask first, right, in the airplane in order to take care of your child. It's the same, but don't pass that to the point of like extremism of self-care or self-prioritization or grandiosity, and then disvalue the opportunities for you to serve and put someone else before you, because that also is extremely beneficial for your well-being in the long run as well. So they both have value, but we have to be very careful at how far we take these two things, because also I know a lot of people that prioritize service to the point of sacrificing their own families and their own marriages and their own kids, you know?
Right.
So you can go wrong in any direction if you are not aware of like, hey, this is the right balance, or this is the right amount.
That's like connecting with your higher power daily is so important, because you're given like this intuitive kind of understanding. It doesn't become so difficult, like, you know, you're not calculating everything in your head. It's just a very intuitive, natural thing. Like, I feel good, like I'm taken care of, and like you see a need and then you fill that need, and it's just like a dance instead of like this really, you know, cognitive, you know, work that you have to do.
Transactional, maybe.
You just have to think, you know, just feel your way through
from the heart.
Yeah, I think it's...
How do you nurture and cultivate your intuition?
So I think that...
Prayer is one.
Prayer is one, yeah. Allowing yourself to live in your mind, but not like in a self-critical way, but just like in a peaceful kind of a calm space in your mind, and whatever can help you get there, like going on a walk or gardening or just doing something that quiets your mind. I feel like being out in nature really helps me.
Me too.
Yeah, there's something about it. It's like the frequency or something energetically where you just feel grounded, and you're just doing something with your hands, gardening, or just, you know, I have lots of animals, so I take care of them. And when I'm in that space, I feel like thoughts come to my mind, or, you know, I'm inclined to do this thing, and it just feels very organic and natural, and not so like, you know, scripted or whatever, like I have to do calculated. It's just more intuitive. And then when you get in like used to that feeling, you can tap into it at any time. You know, like I think that quiet is really key. So like even driving in my car, I do a lot of planning and strategizing for, you know, but it's just organic. Like, what do I feel like doing next? And it sparks joy and happiness and excitement in me. And then I know it's the right decision, but it speaks differently to everybody. You just have to know what that language is, and you allow that language to kind of surface in you and kind of take over instead of all the busyness and all of the hectic stuff.
I love that.
So
this morning at 5 a.m., my daughter cried, and I woke up to breastfeed her, and all of this, whatever you want to call it, information, inspiration, revelation, came, and I wrote it down because I was like, oh my gosh. And exactly, like I just felt like this joy and this, it was just downloaded in me, and I'm like, I have to write it down before I forget it, and then we'll see where this takes us, because I have no idea. But it was quiet, and when I became a mom for the first time, breastfeeding was rough. You know, the first 2 weeks, by the way, are rough. Because especially
I had months and months and months of rough.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
So we can talk a little bit about that. But there were moments when I wasn't thrilled at 3 a.m. to go breastfeed, or 5 a.m. But I have grown so much to appreciate it as that time of calm and peace and quiet and just sacred. And when I had that shift in my perspective and perception of it, like it's so, I seek it out, but I'm joyous to wake up at 5 a.m. and go pick her up and feed her and put her back to bed, because that time, it's so uninterrupted.
Yes.
It's like pure on channeling and alignment and this information just coming straight to you.
Yes.
So, and nature does that for me too.
Nature does that. And here's the crazy thing.
I mean, breastfeeding is nature. That's what I
It
consider
is so sacred and special. But here's the crazy thing is when you open yourself up for that and you're doing a task with intention and joy, God will meet you there.
Yeah.
So I always thought that like to receive inspiration or, you know, like this download, I like that you said that. It's like I have to be doing this formal thing, but God cares so much about us that he will meet us where we are. So even when I'm doing dishes, I'm like, I talk to God all the time in my head. Heavenly Father, like, I need an answer to this question. And so even he'll use any time that I have where I'm I'm doing dishes. And actually, it happens a lot to me around water, like in the shower or if I'm
too.
Right? There's something about water. I don't know what it is. Is an element that I think is very maternal. But anyway, I get a lot of really like a lot of clarity and direction when I'm doing even a simple task like house chores or something. And if I'm opening myself up, it's really just the mindset. Like you could be doing anything, driving in your car, going on a walk, just something where you're not being bombarded with like artificial noise constantly. And distraction, and it will happen. I promise it will happen too.
I want to add a little bit on that. You said there's something sacred about water and stuff. I've been on this personal journey or rabbit holes, whatever you want to call it, of research. I love the research so much, and I have found the start of this could be for many of us on Proverbs 3 and 8. In ancient times, they wrote with lowercase letters. But there are so many ancient books that explain that if there were also code names for Jesus, you know, like the bread of life and Emmanuel and a lot of other things. But they also are code names for the mother in heaven, and one of them is wisdom. And another one is the water of life. Or tree of life, you know? So a lot of other things. And Margaret Barker is one of very well known. She's a Methodist. She has studied in Genesis 1:27, it is said that we are created in the image of God, male and female created them. So that gives us at least the idea that there is a man in heaven and a woman in heaven, and we look like them and are created with the same abilities and capacities and material. So if you want to study more, Margaret Barker is someone that could help you in that journey. And I personally believe when I arrived to this point, the effect that it has had on me and in me has been like filling every void I've ever experienced from birth up to this point. Because I realized that when I got to know her, I also got to know my truest identity as well, and connected me with her. And you guys do talk about the innate divine nature of women. Do you want to expand a little bit on that? I know it's one of your tenets.
Yeah, so we believe in our, divine feminine identity, and that is ultimately like a nurturing force, and it's the greatest, most influential force that we have. And I think that's been one of the greatest lies ever perpetrated on the human family, is to bury that power of women, because that procreative power is the greatest power. I mean, we have entire, really big forces at play.
Yeah,
that
I
are
agree.
trying to...
When I birthed my son, I grew up with all this feminist things luring in our schools and our minds and everything, right? So one of the reasons that I see clearly now was like, oh, they played a role in my decisions too, and my mom did always say like, you don't get married till you finish school, till you have your job and possibly your first house and blah, blah, blah. Well, those things take time, and the window of a woman to give birth is 10 years maximum, give and take. But what I was going to say is that I want women, and when I had my first one, to me, that was the truest and the most powerful empowerment I've ever experienced. Like, there's no hard and most sacred and most divine and most mind-boggling thing of you growing a baby and then getting that baby out of you and then seeing that baby that is being fed. I never expected myself to have milk. I thought like, oh, I'm small in size in every aspect. I was like, there's not going to be mine. But I've been blessed with that abundance. And my kids love it. And I breastfeed them till 2. It's a personal decision. But I'm like, where does that come from? You know? All of that. And like, that is true empowerment. And not only that, psychologically, emotionally, socially, intellectually, wisdom, knowledge, relational clarity and guidance and instructions. I've gained all of those. I've gained those by choosing to be pregnant, to have my first child. And I think the first child is the start for moms to be creators and also start the eternal work. You know, because think about it. You can go to your mom, to your grandma, to your great grandma, and blah, 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 blah. You can arrive to Eve. Well, where did Eve come from? So I think that connection will bring women together, but also will feel their whatever hole they have, because this earth life does create a lot of deficits for a lot of us.
Yeah. No, I agree 100% that I thought I was a really like powerful, independent, strong woman, and then I had no idea how exponentially like that power can grow once I became a mother, because I became an advocate. I became a wisdom seeker, not just knowledge and information and titles and
the truth.
Yes. And I became like, there is nothing that would make me afraid. Like I was afraid of nothing because my love was so big for my child that I could go through hell and burn things down for my kid. And so I feel like that's like the untapped power that the world has today is this power of unified mothers who know who they are, who know their divine potential and worth. Like we're unstoppable, which is exactly why I think that there's been such a campaign to bury this truth from the beginning of time. And so I think that we're living in this really fascinating point in history where we've got these global conspiracies, like all conspiring like together on so many levels. But what they don't understand is that the power that we have as women when we wake up to our internal power is so much greater than anything out there. That's I think what I would love to see happen is more and more women realizing and recognizing like who they really are.
And I think a very conscious and pure intent of becoming a mom will do that for you. When you were saying like I can burn things down, like my son was, I don't know, 1.5 or 2 when Avatar came, the last one, and there's a moment in the movie when one of her sons is killed or hurt.
Avatar the Blue People or Avatar the Airbender?
Because I want in the water.
The water, okay, yes.
Okay.
Oh, that's, the Way of Water
the
is
mom.
so good, yes.
Ooh, like when that scene came, I was like, oh, I'm feeling it all in my body.
It's a really good movie.
It felt so visceral to me, so real. I'm like, holy crap, that's exactly how I feel. Like, oh, don't you dare mess with my kid. Because like, and I told my husband, that is fantasy. Like that fantasy, I'm living that fantasy I have in my body through the movie right now, you know? So I told him, but also like another thing that comes with that is creating and building. And I know moms, a lot of moms struggle with this, and there are a lot of forces that try to mess up with that too, but it's like, oh, you're losing yourself, or you are missing out on working whatever field you were before, like art or architecture or accountant, whatever, you know, and you get this message of like, it's a waste of time to be home and raise your child. What are you doing? Like, are you losing your mind? And I went a little bit through that because it was a cold turkey kind of change. I birthed my son. I was like, well, I'm not working. I don't want to work. I had no desire to go, but there are parts of me that enjoy intellectual talk or something that is age appropriate for me to stimulate me, you know, because changing poopy diapers all day, it gets tiring at some point, and that is true. So anyhow, so what message could you give to women that are struggling with that? And I will make a bold hypothesis or theory here. But in my own this journey of figuring things out and seeking the truth, every time that I have this dilemma of this false narratives and lies, but I'm so twinkled with them to the point of believing half of them and half of the truth, that's when my depression and anxiety is born. But when I choose to go with what is true and light and life-giving or life-affirming, depression and darkness or anxiety doesn't have any power. So there's also a little bit of, I don't know, an opportunity or an invitation or a golden chance for women to choose the truth, especially when they become moms, because that's the only way for you to function in the most high quality within yourself, and also like reflect that to your child and to whoever is around you. That has been my experience. What would you say to that?
I think that's, I agree with that completely. I think that we're meant to create. We're meant to create, and the world would have us enter into this rat race cycle to consume and to be, always feeling behind and stretched and stressed. But that's because we're not creating. And when you're creating, you're creating something that wasn't there before, and you're using like these rudimentary elements to create something else that wasn't there before. And when you're just outsourcing everything, there's a depletion of creativity that happens. And I think that it's meant to, because people are profiting and gaining a lot of money from our lack of creativity, from our stress and anxiety, and also from our, entering into this rat race. And so when I started getting excited about the next day with my kids and what we were going to create together, that's when I started to enjoy and love motherhood. It's like, what can we create together? And actually that was what sparked my journey into homeschool, because I felt like the days just, they were so short. They were just, because we're having so much fun creating together, that I was planning the next day. Okay, what else are we going to learn about? What else are we going to do? What projects are we going to do? What cool outings are we going to do? And all of it, mind you, my husband, we were the poorest we'd ever been, so poor. So it's not like you need money to do that at all. It was the opposite. It was like we had to create because we had nothing.
Yeah.
And I was the happiest.
I grew up with that. You call the necessity. That's what we called it.
Yeah.
My mom would say, call the necessity will teach you how to create.
Yes.
How to figure it out.
Yes. And I feel like sometimes when we have an excess of material stuff, you're just buying more material stuff, and then you need to work harder because you just don't feel like you have enough. So it's like a cycle. It's like a feedback loop, either negative or positive. And so I think that when you start to see your family as its own economy, and what can I do with my children together to create, then it changes everything. It makes the days so exciting and fun.
I love that.
You're not like, okay, when is bedtime? Oh, when is this? And it's not to say that
you will not have those days. Yeah.
But for the most part, I would remember going to bed and being like, oh man, that was so awesome. What can we do tomorrow? And all these ideas would come, and we can do this, we can do that. And it was just, it was my journey into how much I enjoy my kids, how much I enjoy spending time with them. And here's the crazy thing is, the more time you spend with your children in joy, the more time you want to spend with your children in joy. And when you're constantly sending them away, or outsourcing this, outsourcing that, and there's distance in time with your kids, the more that you need, the more that the time you do spend with them is stressful, because they just want your attention all the time, and they're just acting out because
they're hungry.
They're hungry for your time and attention. Yeah. And so if you just give it a try, just test it for a week.
I love that.
Test it for a week, and you'll see the change.
I love that. And I do want to testify about that, because my mom was born and raised in communism, and they needed women and men to work all the time, so they created daycare, and they put kids on daycare. So I was put in full-time daycare from 8 till 5 at 3 months old, or even younger.
Goodness.
I know.
Yeah.
And I've worked so hard to create a secure attachment style for myself because there was no attachment at all. But the whole generation at that time, the way of doing it then was you send them to the institution or you ship them to the grandmas, which I grew up majority of my life with my paternal grandma. You know, so I do know the other side of the coin firsthand. And when me and my sister had our kids, my mom had this idea that she will come and raise our kids, and we were like, absolutely not.
Like,
we love you.
Yeah.
That is great that you are willing to, but no, I want to raise this child myself. And every time I breastfeed, I literally like keep it so close and do it because
It's almost like you're doing it for yourself.
yes, amen. When I had my first child, yes, I was living like in multiple dimensions because I was like, oh, I'm breastfeeding Alma, I'm breastfeeding Lennon, you know, all of that. And there's I forgot her
That's
name.
really
it's
powerful.
called The Journey to Motherhood by Lauren. I forgot her name, but I'll post about the book. But she says that if we as a society make sure that the first time moms have a very positive experience and a lot of support, warm and kind and loving support, then they also have a chance to redo their childhood as
Yes,
well.
100%.
And I have experienced that with my firstborn. And I feel sad for my mom and my grandmas because they were born and raised and in that kind of environment and they were separated and split. And it's very hard. Like, I think it's very hard. It's extremely
But
hard.
them and watching you and their great grandchildren and grandchildren, there's healing there for them.
There is. Yeah.
It's the family unit is just it has to
has
be
a system and
divinely
design
it's
that takes
designed
care
to
of
heal.
itself. Yes, I agree.
And so
just like the body.
Yes.
The body does heal itself too. Yeah.
Yes. So I would say, like, sometimes people are so, especially young people today, like, are so terrified to get into a relationship, a committed relationship, and to have children because they're like, I don't want to perpetrate like what happened to me. But I'm saying it's also your great opportunity to heal because through this child, all of these magical memories that you can create for your child, it's like you're doing it in time. It's like you're going back in time and doing it for yourself. You're parenting yourself in this loving way and doing this for your child.
Yes.
And so I think that the family is designed to heal.
Yes.
And we need to give it a shot. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yes.
Just because things are dysfunctional or have broken doesn't mean that, one, this institution is like, you know, not worth it. Like, it's worth everything for us to fix in our very local nucleus first, right? And then it kind of ripples out.
Absolutely.
So,
and I've realized that the more responsibility I've taken and I've sought help, even from professionals to heal those wounds, the more loving and compassionate I am towards my mom, and I feel sad for what she didn't have a chance up to this point, maybe, you know. And then sometimes you do face people that even that the moment comes, people have choice and agency, and they might never choose to heal or whatever.
Right.
So, like you said, like, don't throw it all out, but give it a chance and put the best foot forward and the best efforts by starting with yourself, self-reflection, self-help, or whatever works for you and helps you to break those chains and then heal the whole unit. Not because when you heal yourself, you heal brother, sister, mom, dad, kids, everything. Can I touch one more thing? You mentioned the commitment. I was one of them, fear of commitment, and I also I never grew up with good examples of marriages, so I was very against it. So all these ideas of feminist and no family and only career and stuff did land on me because I was like, well, I don't want to recreate that, but taking more responsibility and peeling all the layers of those sad experiences and examples did help me see, like, oh, there's another way, the way of joy, the way of commitment, the way of one partner and family and children. And in one of my therapist sessions when I was single, I remember my therapist said, I was talking about this guy I was going out, and I said, oh, he's so boring. And she said, he's not boring. He is functional. And I was like, what? And I was like, wait a minute. Because when you are born and raised in chaos, you are addicted to those chemicals of
Yeah.
dopamine and rush.
Just high emotional things when somebody's nice
What
and stable.
social media does do it for us now.
Yeah.
And like steroid levels, but anyhow, so that had an effect of a huge shift from within out, you know, and my choices changed, and I picked an amazing man. This man not only is committed to me and the kids and our life and improving and owning his mistakes and changing for the better, etc., but also to me it feels like literally the reason why the Pandora box opened in marriage for me from childhood and then with the birth of my son was because right now my body knew I was safe enough to address things that could not be addressed in the past. You know?
Yeah.
So for many women and men out there, do your work, take responsibility to handle what is yours to handle, and then make better choices. Don't go with what is familiar to you. Go with what is not familiar, because it could be maybe more functional and healthy and then could provide you the opportunity that you need for the rest of your life to continue peeling all these layers and getting to the truth and getting to your true identity and to your true worth and value, you know, and it's possible for everyone. Would you?
I love that. I think that's beautiful. Yeah, I think it takes courage, you know, to maybe not go with what is familiar to you, you know, and in that dysfunction. But, you know, and I will say too that my husband and I have done a lot of growing. Like we've had a lot of challenges because, you know, we had traumas, you know, coming from two different backgrounds. And then it's like we've made a lot of mistakes. But the thing is like marriage and a committed relationship, you get to shape it. You get to create it. It's not like I have to find the perfect person and then it's like done. It's like you find someone that just loves you and maybe puts God first. Actually, I feel like that's a really big part of it.
Yes, my husband does love God.
And then it's like you in time and through overcoming things and saying you're sorry and reworking things and tweaking things, and just a lot of times it's just little adjustments.
Yes.
Over
very,
time,
very, very
and
true.
you just kind of progress together and you become a true partnership.
Very true.
And so I think that it's a beautiful journey that we've been on. It hasn't been easy, but I feel like it's been so like worthwhile, and I've really gotten to know somebody in the deepest sense, like as a true partner, you know. And I think that I wouldn't trade that for the world. Like it's just been such a beautiful thing.
I want to add something. I absolutely agree with yours 100%. I want to add one more thing. Like I know that it's very important for women. I also think for men too, to feel psychologically and emotionally safe. So when you pick and you choose to commit and be married, one partnership, just the way it was created from the beginning of times. And nature has proven through generations and thousands of years that it does work that way. It will offer you safety, literally. And when your body feels safe, then your body also can release what has been holding and carrying and has been causing a lot of issues for you. The body will literally release it, you know? So marriage offers safety. I think offers psychological safety, emotional safety, physical safety, which is very, very important for anyone and anything. Like I literally haven't met a human being that doesn't seek to feel safe in their body or in the presence of someone else.
People would say, well, marriage has been the opposite experience for me, and that although that is the case, it doesn't need to be the case. Like you can you know, find that kind of safety in another human being. Like it's possible, and it's worth, you know, not letting go of that as a goal, you know, and as a dream. Like it can become a reality. And I agree. It's like you need to, you know, do internal personal work, and then when you're kind of in that place, it's kind of, you know, I think that the universe will conspire to help you achieve that, and to not let go of that dream, to not feel like it's, you know, it's not yours to have, like you're not deserving of it. Everyone is deserving of it. Everybody wants that. We just kind of are in different journeys of healing. So.
Absolutely. And how does the safety benefit the children when they come into the picture?
Oh, 100%. That's everything. You're giving them that secure attachment. You're giving them, just joy and family life and just ordinary life. And it doesn't have to be this big flamboyant thing that we see all over social media, like fancy vacations and these lavish homes. And like the true joy of being a human being on this earth is in the little tiny moments that are passing us by all the time. Yeah. And it's like stopping and recognizing like, wow, I'm building a core memory for my child right now. And it's so simple. Like it could just be sitting in the living room after dinner and everyone's just talking. And that is so safe feeling for a child, or them crawling into bed with you, at 3 a.m. and it's the safest place in the world, that they want to be. And
it's the whole universe functioning great for them.
Yeah.
And like, it's like the best trip they could ever take.
Yeah.
Because I used to love trips a lot when I was single, and every spring break from college, I would go on a trip. So that was very tough for me to adjust when I became a mom, because that wasn't possible. My son hated being in the car seat, would cry and turn blue for 20 minutes drive.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh my gosh, I'm like isolated forever, but I realized that everything, it's a phase and a season, and sometimes you might feel it takes forever, but it does pass. It will go. The kids will grow out of that, and now he loves traveling, being in car seat, very happy. But what I realized when I would, like you said earlier, like when you are intentional and you really accept and embrace the moment and the stage of life you're in, when I would breastfeed him or massage him or whatever, I was around him, I was like, my gosh, I'm taking a whole trip in the whole universe. Like he's a different human being, like his eye color, the way he looks, the way he moves. And I was like, oh, I'm going to explore my son. I'm going to travel like this new human being and get to know him. And that worked for me. And then the inner traveling of self and all of that did miracles. And when I was on Instagram, like you mentioned, sometimes I would see other friends that were traveling the world. That would get me down. And then I was like, take Instagram off, and I'll take Instagram off for like 10 days or weeks or months. And I would focus on this inner traveling moments in my own home. And they are so powerful. They fill the soul.
Yeah.
They truly fill the soul. And joy is possible. Living in joy
if the
is
end
very
goal
possible.
is relationships, we
It's
have
very
that
possible.
accessible to us all the time.
Yeah, and it depends on us. If I desire to be pregnant and have more kids, I will have more joy. I'm not saying it's easy. Like, you do have the tiring nights. Talk us a little bit about tiring nights, difficult breastfeeding moments, or
I had
something challenging. And how did you overcome that?
So breastfeeding, like I knew that pregnancy and childbirth, like I was mentally geared up for that. I was not for breastfeeding. And I had like problems with a child with, the tongue tied and latching and all this stuff. And I didn't, like, if I didn't have my mom there, and I had a couple of neighbors that literally, so my husband and I went to the university together, and we were in the student housing, and I loved our time there. We were there for a record amount of years because we got all these degrees there. But I had a neighbor that would come over and literally like lift up my shirt and be like, this is what it looks like. And she'd like helped me and my mom. And so I had like these women that weren't like embarrassed. And I was like a little embarrassed. Like it's so like vulnerable and intrusive. Like you're, lifting up my shirt and like helping me. But they were like, no, like you need this. Like, and I don't care. Like I'm coming over. And
that's how ancient women did it. Yeah.
Yes, and we need that. We need to help each other. But if I didn't have that, and them saying, "Keep going, don't give up. It will become okay," and just problem solving, like it's adjusting
little changes on how you hold. Or
But I remember with my oldest, my first. Like I was just so like I remember it would make my toes curl because I was cracked and bleeding and just it was so painful. But my mom was like, no, I went through it too, and we can try to pump and give him some milk. We tried all these different things, but she was like, just don't give up. Just let's keep trying. Let's keep trying. And then once I overcame that barrier, it was like I'm so glad I didn't give up because then I had all of the rest of my kids' experience with breastfeeding. Breastfeeding became like my most joyful part of being a mother is that closeness, that bonding, and just holding them close and seeing. There's something about like being full of milk, and then it's like you're full of this goodness and being able to release it, and you want to give it away. You want to bring something in and just, it's like the essence of being female in a way, is like you have so much, you're a wellspring of goodness and I don't know, light, and then you just pour it out and you give it. And it's just, I don't know, it's been one of the most spiritual experiences that I've had is breastfeeding.
Yes.
And but it didn't come easy. It was really hard. It was like a hard fought battle that I had, but I overcame it. And then I realized, like, any other difficult challenge that I faced in motherhood, it's like I turned back to that victory. Like, and, well, it first started with pregnancy, right? It was so difficult, and I was so nauseous, and I ended up getting cholestasis with a couple of my kids, where it's like you're itchy, and it's just, they have to be induced a little early. Anyway, but then labor and then delivery. So it's like I started like overcoming and triumphing over these almost impossible things, and I was like, I did that. I can do this next thing. I can do this next thing. And so it became a series of victories for me, where you really do feel invincible. You're like, I can do this, and I'll figure out a way. And I've got other people that I can turn to that have been through it before that can help me. So you start seeing other women, especially in their older years, their maturity, and you start seeing them as these generals in an army that have been to battle that you can look to for help. And so I started seeing other women in a totally different way, not as this, like, I think the world views older women like as has-beens, as like irrelevant, but in motherhood it couldn't be farther from the truth, because it's the oldest generations that know stuff, that have been there.
I agree.
And so you just, I feel like being a woman is like being a part of a massive network below the ground that nobody else sees, but we're literally all tethered to each other. Our root systems are all intertwined. And there's nothing more incredible in the world than to belong to this sisterhood, really is what it is. But it's through motherhood. Like, you can't have a sisterhood if it's not directly linked to motherhood. Like, it just doesn't exist. And everything that's been difficult in parenting and motherhood in my life, I know that I can overcome. It's just a matter of problem solving and problem solving with the help of others and believing in myself. You know, I can do it.
Well, I love every word you said. And what kept coming to me is the triumph of the female body, the triumph of the female being and human. And you mentioned, like, it was hard physically, and that to me is like the human part, that we all are going to struggle in some way or another. Like you mentioned, pregnancy was a little difficult with some of your kids, or breastfeeding for someone could be something else, maybe after birth or etc. So at some point in our lives, we all are going to have some tough moments and seasons in life, and those are golden opportunities to grow and improve and really never give up, so you can come on the other side and feel the triumph and feel way more empowered, way more confident, and truly trust yourself.
And we have a responsibility to look for the ones that aren't quite where you are, and we have to help them along. Like, it's our responsibility. Like, it's almost, I love what you're doing, Alma, because you are rebuilding and restitching fiber by fiber this community that we are losing.
Thank you.
And it's so critical. So any listener out there, like, I encourage you to really pay attention to what Alma is doing in these important conversations, and how can you build the fabric again in your local area for mothers that need this kind of mentorship and safe place to raise our children. Like, before our conversation today, I just feel like sharing it a little bit. It's almost like women are lonelier than ever in their motherhood, and like, what can we do to fix that? Like, we've got to do something about it, because it's going to limit, like, we all, as a society, know that like there's a lot of work that needs to be done to take care of the baby, right?
Yeah.
But what about the mother that takes care of the baby?
Yeah.
That's what you were saying.
Yeah, she needs fuel too, and the society has to shift a few things to prioritize her as much as the baby. And United States, I mean, this is where I became a mom, so I cannot compare it to many other countries, but it is extremely focused on the baby, which is great. Nothing wrong about it. That's how I see it, you know, comparing it to where I'm coming from. But I do know that there are babies here that are not valued and are not well taken care of as well. But as a majority, it is a country that does value babies and likes to sell a lot of things to babies, you know.
Right.
It's a way to make a lot of money, like selling everything that the baby doesn't even care having. But apart from that, I think the baby literally prefers the mother, desires the mother. Even the father, the first 3 months, is not preferred by the baby.
Right.
Like 0 to none sometimes, unless the mom is like, you can hold the baby, or the father wants to be involved himself and wants to be part of it and wants to connect with the baby too. So the baby knows you, wants you, prefers you, chooses you, everything. And if you are the only one that is giving to that baby and no one is pouring in you except maybe your husband, in the modern day, that village has come down to a husband. And it's the husband also is tired because he's going to go to work. You know, so it creates a lot of fracture and gaps and a lot of other issues. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I'm investing and I also see a lot of opportunity in connecting generations with each other. And you mentioned you were like the ladies before me, the women before me, they were the soldiers, they did it. So don't have fear. Literally open your mouth. And go reach to also another woman that is older than you, knows more than you, has done it.
And especially
you look up
older
to.
women from different countries.
Everywhere, wherever you can get
wherever
them,
you can.
go.
Our little aunties,
exactly.
from different, because
Go online. There are a lot of older women online too on Instagram, and you can talk to them.
Yeah.
So
and they love. There's nothing that women love more than to talk about being a mother and how they did it.
Yes.
And I think that.
And any advice, just ask them for advice.
Yeah.
Like, I love that. Like, when I was little, I was like, why does my mom always hang out with older women and, like, older men, you know? Like, grandpas and grandmas kind of age group. But now I'm growing up and I'm like, you know what? There's power in connecting with the generations before you and after you, you know? And being the middle. And I literally... want to position myself to be that bridge and to bring those two parties together. When I was in college, I did I did a campaign to have a website, and I would go interview the elderly in their homes and ask for advice and knowledge and wisdom, and then I'll put it on the website and blah,
That's
blah, blah.
great.
Yeah, so it is in me, and I think there's so much power. And you said, like, they came and helped you. To me, it was in hospital, someone professional came. Like, there are resources everywhere, and that is the great thing about the world we live in. The amount of resources is great. You just need to become so good at discerning the resource you're picking. And maybe you can give it a try for a week, 2 weeks, a month. But if you don't see that it is uplifting your soul, is helping you thrive, is bringing light and joy in your life, let it go and seek another resource that brings those
and be
things.
a resource for others, because that's literally how the fabric is stitched. Is you have a responsibility. Like, we have responsibilities to each other. So even I remember... I had a neighbor, like, I lived in North Carolina for a while, and I had this neighbor, and she's a very professional woman. Her husband was too. Her husband had to travel quite a bit, and she was having her first baby, and I had all of mine, and she'd see me walking, and I'd have, like, my jogger stroller, and I'd be walking my dog. I'm always schlepping, like, a ton of stuff and kids, so I'm always looking, like, super frazzled all the time. That's, like, the story of my life. But she, I think, just reached out to me, and we started going on walks together, and it turned out that, like, she went into labor before, like, when her husband was away.
Okay.
And she's like, will you come to the hospital with me? Will you? So I ended up laboring with her. And it's like, and it was like at 2 a.m. or something. And I was like, yeah, I'm there and we'll do it. And we went to the hospital together. And I had family visiting from out of town. And so, and I hardly ever got to see my family. And so they came, like, my brother came too with me. And after that, this brother of mine said, Carol, like, that's really amazing that your neighbor was that close to you to ask to do this thing, right? Like, will you come and labor with me in the hospital and be there with me? Such an intimate, private moment. And I was like, it was such an honor that she asked. And we had this whole conversation in the car about what it means to build community. Like, what does that really look like? And there's an element of being vulnerable, of asking favors of each other, even when it's inconvenient, and then saying yes to those things.
Show up.
And so you can't just expect like this mentorship to happen to you without you also having some kind of a commitment to pass that along to someone else. That's what real reciprocity looks like. It doesn't necessarily mean like between two people. It means between, you're receiving something and then you're giving it this way as well. Like it doesn't always necessarily have to look this way.
The good that was done to you, you go do it to someone else.
And look for those opportunities and don't be afraid to, look and feel embarrassed or look silly, because it takes practice. Like you just have to.
And that is real life. That's when the joy comes, and you don't have the knots in your back because you had to filter everything, or you have to put a mask, or you had to come. You didn't have to go to that birthing room acting a certain way, being a certain way. You're like, no, I'm here. I'm going to show up, and I'm going to show up exactly how I am, with the capacity I have, abilities I have, skills I have, but also the shortcomings and flaws I have too.
100%.
And that makes for a very real good bond and trust and connection, and everything good. We are coming to an end. If you have anything you want to say that you're like, I definitely want to get this across, you're so great. I just love what you're doing. I'm so in support of it. I want to send a well wish out to whoever's listening, that the work that you're doing as a mother may seem invisible right now, but just know that this is the most powerful power on the planet, because you're literally growing a completely unique and beautiful human life. You're nurturing that life. You're influencing that life. You're mentoring that life. So just know that you're not alone. All of us are in this with you, and we're going to try to restitch this village back together. And I think the work you're doing is absolutely critical, and I hope that everyone can stay tuned and like be a part of this work, because it's going to take all of us. Thank you. In one of your tenet, and I'll close with this, it's abundance. And when you're saying to mothers that they are doing the most powerful work on earth for generations to come, is 100% true. And what's true is that the brain and the heart of the child that you are nurturing right now, it's full of ideas, full of creativity. You don't even know what the child is going to do for your nation, for your neighborhood, for your own life. Like you mentioned, like now my brother does this thing, and we have money and we are giving back to our parents, So that child in your hands, it's a powerful human being with abundance of knowledge and wisdom and skills that he will gain throughout life, but the abilities are already there. The ideas, he has inherited the intelligence that he needs or she needs to thrive. And you are there for maybe 18 years to do some intense work.
It goes by so fast.
And then we'll light up, So thank you again, and thank you for creating Big Ocean Women. I found it through Erica Commissar. She mentioned it, and I was like, oh, I need to look into this. This sounds amazing. And I think I looked into it maybe, 3 years ago or so. And about 6 months ago, give or take, I wanted to be part of it because it does align with what I believe and to me, it speaks truth. And in this 6 months, it has proven to be true, and to have everlasting effects in me. And it has created such amazing shifts within me that has taken me to higher levels of consciousness, and I think that's why all these downloads are coming too. So thank you so much, and thank you for being
welcome.
here.
Anytime.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
I'll go.